It's another fine Tuesday afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Your Viewpoint. I am Rotimi Akintunde. This program is sponsored by Integrated Communication Services situated at Yaba, Lagos, and of course designed to encourage moral values in our society and provide possible solutions to whatever is happening around us. Today we're talking about domestic violence. Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency in June says more than 2,000 cases of domestic violence and 4 deaths were recorded in the state in the last 6 months. Observers have said that domestic violence has become a worrisome development in our society. Today, we're looking at how we can curb domestic violence and, of course, sexual violence, as the case may be. Thank you so much for joining us. I have in the studio, joining me this morning, a professional marriage counselor. That's Abiola Ogbu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me around.
All right. Of course, you've heard my introduction concerning the number of cases we have talking about domestic violence in the last 6 months in Lagos, as it were. So that means if we put together cases of domestic violence in other states of the country, putting everything together, I'm absolutely sure it's going to be more than 2,000. We should be talking about maybe up to 10,000, so to speak, or even more. Yes, by the time we put about 36 states together, yes, multiplied by 2,000, that's a lot. What is your opinion?
And I want to say that is even the cases reported. What about cases that were not reported? It's a lot, and it's a cause for concern, because oftentimes they report physical abuse and sexual. What about the one that is not physical and sexual? A lot of people are going through what we call psychological, emotional abuse. Okay,
now that takes us to defining domestic violence. You've talked about the reported cases now, and you also mentioned those ones that have not been reported. Now, in fact, it's something that we should look into by looking into the rural environment, places where officials cannot get to, the ones that are not reported, like you said, and some have decided to just keep it to themselves and all of that. Do we want to talk about incest and so many other atrocities like that? Now, let's examine the word domestic violence. Most of the time, like the agency I'm talking about, they use the word domestic and sexual violence. So let's look at domestic violence. What exactly should we regard as domestic violence?
Domestic violence is any violence by one person against another in a domestic setting, such as marriage or cohabitation.
So most of the time, people think it's just about marriage.
No.
So the first thing that comes to mind, in that regard, we'll consider it a misconception.
Yeah.
Yes, believing that, it's just about a man and a woman, a husband and a wife. Now, in that regard, should we say domestic violence can happen between siblings? It could also be a family issue.
Yes.
And all of that.
Domestic violence actually cuts across ethnicities, age, gender, religious beliefs, and sexual orientations. It could happen in a family, among parents and kids. It could happen among siblings. It could happen among friends. Once there is a cohabitation, that's why the definition said in a domestic setting such as marriage or cohabitation. So it's not limited to marriage alone.
All right, let's look at the sexual part of it, which seem to be. Now, before we go to that, there are different areas, because I also looked into the definition, and they talked about psychological abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. In fact, some even mentioned financial issues.
Yes.
Let's pick it one after the other.
Okay. Basically, we have like 4 types of domestic abuse. The number one and most popular is the physical abuse. For example, where you have a case of pushing or someone beating or slapping. That's
which is quite common.
That's physical abuse. The second one is the sexual abuse, when you have sex without consent. And I remember someone was asking a few days ago, can a husband rape the wife? I say, why not? He said, is it not my property? It's your property. But once you're having sex without consent, it is an abuse. The third one is financial abuse. When you deny someone of being employed or deny someone of access to his or her own money, the person is financially abused. And then the fourth one is the psychological or emotional abuse. Example of that is where you curse someone, which is very common here. You rain curses, you threaten someone. It's a psychological and emotional abuse. So those are the basic types of abuse. But what is very prevalent is the physical and the sexual.
What do you think is the major reason for the physical abuse that people experience oftentimes?
A lot of factors could come for it. When you're talking about our personality, who we are is as a result of the family we come from, the environment we grew up from, our belief system. So, like I was telling someone, I said, a married man suddenly is beating the wife. He may not want to be a wife beater. But maybe as a child, he once saw his father beat the mother, or he lived in a setting where beating girls is not a taboo. When such a person gets older, he will not find it difficult to beat a female. So, where he's coming from, his family, his belief system, the association has helped to form his person. Another factor is also the issue of mental health. Mental health is a major problem today because oftentimes when you hear of mental health, you think somebody that is in Aro or who is in Yaba left. No, you don't have to be in Yaba left to have mental health issues. Once something has happened to your mind, once there is a mental wound, once there is an emotional wound, mental health comes in. And that means you're not thinking straight, you're not in your right frame of mind. You can't give the right judgment at that time. So you see some people just start beating because maybe he's frustrated. For instance, a man who lost his job and he's the breadwinner. And you know what it means to feed the kids, send them to school. The schools has just resumed and he wants to be the man, he wants to be the father. Such a man suddenly can just start nagging or any little thing, he's snapping. Maybe he was a gentleman.
There's something I want us to look at. Part of what could trigger the way the male gender, so to speak. I know in some cases we have female genders that have upper hand when it comes to physical abuse. Now, but most of the time, you know, there's this saying that the females, sometimes they call them, as some scriptures will say that, oh, they are the weaker vessel and all of that. Now, would you say it's possibly because it is believed that the male gender, you know, are quite strong? So could that be the mentality, so to speak, that brings about? Because if a man understands that, oh, this woman is a black belt holder, so to speak, yes, I'm sure he would try not to do that. Yes. Would you, to what extent would you agree with that or disagree?
I want to say, if only men will understand that, what we call gender equality.
Okay. That
although you are a male, she is a female, you both are equal. Even if you check the holy books from the beginning.
That's going to be, you see, for some people, we
let,
are going to
let,
talk about
let me
that.
land.
Please. Yes.
You know, even in the holy book, as a Christian, the Bible says he made them male and female, but he made them the same.
Okay.
There's this belief in our setting that men feels they are superior to women.
Okay.
And that's because, you know, the man is the head.
Okay.
Fine. But then, the man coming to feel they are stronger. I've seen a case where a woman beats the man to stupor. But because of the stigma attached to a man reporting violence, if a guy should come to you and say, my wife beat me, what will you say? Oh boy, you know, be man. You are not man enough. So that stigma, that is why you don't say it. There are women also who abuse men. Physically, emotionally, but because of the shame, the society's stigma, they can't come out. So I think it's our African mentality that feels that the man is above the woman should be under me. That is why you hear somebody say, woman, where I use my money, marry.
But let's look at it from another perspective. Okay. You know, we have a culture.
We have a culture.
Yes, and we also have religion, so to speak. And all of these things are tied to who we are.
Yeah.
Now, the man being the head, are you saying a woman and a man in a marriage are the same? Or you're just trying to say they have rights? Because this has become so controversial, especially in religious organizations, even with considering our cultural affiliations. Most of the time, you know, wherever we come from, in Nigeria, in Africa, we believe that the man is the head. So I would like you to clear the word gender equality, because some have believed the fact that gender equality has caused a lot of problems in homes today. What is your take on that? What
I'm trying to say is, the way God has made it, the man is the head.
Okay. Naturally.
Naturally.
Okay.
Not every man is the head of every woman. You are the head of your wife.
Of your wife.
You know, because what you see these days is a man in house A wants to be the head of the woman in house B. No. So in a marriage setting, the husband is the head and the wife also supports. But what I'm saying is they both have equal rights. As much as the man wants to be respected in a marriage, a woman also deserves to be respected. As much as a woman wants to be loved and showed affection in marriage, a man also deserves to be loved. So what I'm saying is, both male and female gender have equal, you know, rights to being fair, but the man remains the head.
And of course, I think that also relates to the fact that they are both humans.
They are human.
And what brought about this gender equality issue was that we talked about rape, which is part of physical abuse, so to speak. Sexual, you know, whereby sexual abuse, so to speak. You know, that, oh, I married you with my money and all of that. Very quickly, let's look at, because most of the time, people, because of their cultural belief system, they talk about what they paid to get that woman. And to a large extent, it has a way of affecting the way they relate
to the woman.
To the woman.
Yeah.
Somebody that was asked to bring maybe to bring 40 cows and 500 bags of rice, and I'm just just exaggerating in that regard. What is your take? Don't you think it affects how they relate, and eventually they believe, oh, I have bought this woman
a property.
A property. In fact, during the ceremony, most of the time they say, okay, this woman has been handed over to you, whether live or dead. What is your take?
Our culture has helped and has not helped in so many ways. I personally am from the Kogi state, and I'm married to an Igbo man. Wow. And I remembered when they were to pay the bride price, my father was like, how much should we collect for your bride price? I almost didn't tell him, I almost wanted to tell him not to take anything, and he said no. So I said, okay, take 1,000. And he took 1,000 as my bride price, aside the yam, the fish, and everything. But I remember immediately after the ceremony, he gave me back the money, meaning we didn't sell you. And they told him, it's our daughter, if she offends you, tell us. But in a situation where some family exploits their daughter's husband, so to say, a man who paid 2 million as bride price, and then you ask the man to take care of the younger ones of the woman and all that, and they exploit them so much that they feel, what else? Your parents have sold you. So sometimes, unconsciously, they feel, if I have paid this much to acquire you, then I can order you around. Sometimes you see some men will tell some women, I don't want you to work. She's a graduate, but she cannot work. Why? I can feed you. But by the time you take that away from her, somehow you are abusing her because you have denied her of being employed, and she's going to be at your mercy. So sometimes some of these exorbitant bride price, there are associations that are fighting that, let this bride price be removed. But culture is still there. There are things you can't take away. But there are some parts of this country where the bride price is according to the level of your education. What you pay for a primary school leaver is different from secondary.
I was going to talk about that.
It's different from university and masters.
Because most in-laws, so to speak, will say, oh, we've spent a lot.
A lot.
Yes. So if we have to give out our daughter, we must get something in
You have
return.
to pay them for all
yes,
they have
how
spent.
would you address that?
And I asked the question, then what is your role as a parent? If you are going to wait for somebody who is going to return your investment, whatever any parent is spending on a child, I feel it is their responsibility. If God has empowered you as a parent to send your kids to even PhD level before marriage, why not? Don't wait for a sponsor, a man who is coming to buy her over. And that is why some people will tell you, I want to get married before I start going further. And sometimes it doesn't work.
But you would have seen some parents
Yes.
say, oh, go marry. So that
Your husband will now
We'll
continue where we
yes,
stop.
Yes.
Sometimes those people don't get fulfilled because sometimes you can just get married and she takes in. And pregnancy is another game on its own. So you now discover that some dreams are aborted along the line. Some dreams are delayed in being fulfilled because of some of these beliefs. So, but I'm of the opinion, if bride price is not where I'm married to,
okay,
their bride price, I've seen them, my sister-in-law maybe 5 naira, and it's Igbo culture. It's a family. Igbo culture. And there are some other parts where you are going to buy even machine, you're going to buy things and you'll be wondering, are we opening a supermarket?
Okay, thank you so much. We've been talking about domestic violence, reasons, possible reasons for sexual violence, domestic violence, which comes in different forms, the psychological abuse or emotional abuse, as the case may be, the financial part of it and all of that. But then we have to go on this break. You're watching Your Viewpoint, and right after this break, we will be back. Now, we want to show you something about cow skin. I don't know how much you love pomo.
Pomo?
Yes. You take that often?
I do.
Okay, fantastic. So we get to see what Tosin Maliki has for us as regards pomo. Now, it has become a controversy, so to speak, whether it should be banned or not, despite the fact that there are reports that it will be banned, so to speak. Then let's find out about what Tosin Maliki has for us concerning its nutrient, and we'll be back. Please go nowhere.
Did you know that, as a low-calorie food, pomo is beneficial in weight loss? Cow skin, popularly known as pomo kanda, is many Nigerians' favorite. Common in parties, pomo has become a preferred meat source for some, although there have been speculations that cow skin possess little or no nutrients. Health practitioners say that pomo is nutritional to the body but offers it in low quantity. Recently, the federal government said the habit of consuming animal skin, pomo, needs to be stopped in Nigeria. This, according to the Nigerian Institute of Leather and Science Technology, will help revive the leather industries of the country. Let's see the nutritional content of pomo according to an interdisciplinary public health movement, Public Health Nigeria. Dietary fiber. Dietary fiber are indigestible nutrients which aids proper functioning of the digestive system. Pomo, a good source of dietary fiber, promotes digestive health and regular bowel movement. It also helps to regulate blood sugar levels and cholesterol, thereby preventing diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and bowel cancer. Calcium. 100 grams of pomo contains about 61 milligrams of calcium. Calcium is a mineral present in most foods. The essential nutrient helps to maintain strong bones and carry out many important functions. It also supports the structure and hardness of the bones and teeth. Iron. Another nutrient present in pomo is iron. Iron is an important component of hemoglobin present in the red blood cells. It helps in the transportation of oxygen around the body. Magnesium. Magnesium is another nutrient found in this meat source. The micronutrient is essential for normal bone structure in the body. Most people get magnesium from their diet, but in cases where there is magnesium deficiency, magnesium supplements are used. Magnesium regulates muscle function throughout the body, including the heart muscle. It helps in maintaining a healthy heart rhythm, thereby regulating blood pressure and cholesterol production. Phosphorus. Phosphorus, a mineral which makes up 1% of a person's total body weight, is the second most abundant mineral in the body. Present in every cell of the body, most of the mineral is found in the bones and teeth. Phosphorus is a building block of nucleic acids and also plays a role in the body's energy production. Zinc. Zinc is the second most abundant micronutrient in the body after iron, present in all cells. Zinc is important in the performance of over 300 enzymes that aid metabolism, digestion, nerve function, and many other processes.
Thank you so much for being there. You're still watching Your Viewpoint. We've been talking about domestic violence, how it can be reduced in Nigeria. And I've been speaking with a professional marriage counselor, Abiola Ogo. We talked about types of domestic violence, so to speak, and we mentioned a number of things. But this time around, we want to look at how to find out if somebody is abusive. Let's take it from there before we talk about abusive relationship between fathers and children and all of that. But then, how do we determine someone who is abusive first?
Oh, good. Someone was asking 2 days ago and was like, what are the signs to look out for to know if my partner is abusive or not, both male or female now?
Okay.
Number one, when your partner tries to control every of your moves. That's a sign. Whether male or female. Oh, let me check your phone. Who called you? Who did you message? Where were you? Who was that man that was greeting you at the junction? So that's a sign. Another one is feeling emotionally helpless. When a man is feeling that he's helpless emotionally, or a woman is feeling helpless emotionally, is a sign. Another one is when the partner has unpredictable temper.
Wow.
You can't just explain. He'll just outburst. Is a sign. Another one is the fear of your partner. For not just cause you are just scared. I don't want my husband to see this. I don't want my wife to see. You want to buy something and you're scared of your wife knowing that you're spending money. And then I ask, who is marrying who? So that's a sign. Also, when you hurt, you hurt or threaten to kill.
Okay.
When you curse or threaten to kill, and somebody will tell you, I'll kill you one of these days. And he's just saying it jokingly, and one day it will just be true. And the man is dead or the woman is dead. It's like, I used to say it. It's a sign. Or you threaten to take your children away from you. Or you might say, I will just carry my children to my mother. I will take these children away from you. It's a sign.
I understand you are also a premarital therapist, counselor, so to speak. Now, that is something that can be noticed before people get married.
You call it red flags.
Red flags.
Red flags. Okay. Before you even say I do.
And before this show started, remember we talked about a number of things concerning pregnancy, when people get pregnant. Now, some people have actually seen those signs, but they could not prevent them because something brought them together, and eventually they got married, especially unwanted pregnancy. How would you address that?
There is something I used to say. Some marriages are not unwanted, but the timing is wrong. So if a young man and a young woman are dating, and because they've been sleeping together, she got pregnant.
Okay.
And sometimes because, oh, what will the society say? Maybe you're in the Christian circle. I don't want them to punish me before the pregnancy will come out. They rush to the courts, formalize the marriage, and then later they start paying the bride price. Even in this part of the country, somebody can have 3 kids and there's no dowry payments. And I said, wow, it's quite different from the eastern part where I'm from. Okay. So once the pregnancy happened, I'm of the opinion pregnancy is one thing, marriage is another ball game. If you go ahead to consummate or legalize the relationship because of pregnancy, there's going to be tension. And that is why we see most marriages are not working, and you are wondering, they were there because of that child. And even at old age, when that child is no longer there, you now discover that they are not together. I've seen couples who are separating at age 70, 68, when the kids are no more at home and they just discover we are not friends. So even with the pregnancy, don't force them to marry. Let him accept the pregnancy, take responsibility, but let marriage be something they are emotionally, mentally, financially, all area ready to consummate. okay, we are ready to marry, we have prepared, not because pregnancy came.
Okay.
Most cases I've handled, they have issues.
And that eventually leads to this violence.
Of course, because you are angry.
The man gets annoyed almost
I
every
want to
time.
go to the university. I want to have masters before I get married, or I have kids, and now pregnancy has come. That dream somehow has been aborted or truncated. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of frustration.
But you see some parents trying to use that as a punishment
for
the persons involved. Yes. Then, well, okay. That is how you have, that's what you have turned yourself into. Then go face it.
Go face it. But at the long run, God forbid, when such girls end up losing their life in such frustrated marriages, the parents are all crying. I tell parents, please, don't force your girl. Last week there was a post on social media and they said, if a guy mistakenly pregnant a girl, should he mistakenly marry her? I said there's no mistaking, there's nothing like you mistakenly pregnated a girl. Pregnancy came and you don't want to dispose, right? Just accept it, face it, but don't force them into marriage because they might not be ready for marriage at that time.
All right, away from that, let's look at abusive relationships between mothers, fathers, and children. How would you address that? This is something we know that all of these things happen, but how can it be addressed?
It has become something that is transgenerational now.
Okay.
A man that was abused growing up, we end up abusing others. Because when there's what we call adverse childhood experience, when you're dealing with trauma, something that happened to you as a child that was not properly treated, that leaves a wound on your mind. Trauma is what we call wound of the mind. And as you grow up, you become older, you're now married, or you are in a setting. When things happen that we call stressor, that triggers this emotional pain, you remember what happened to you. And sometimes it gets to a point, you repeat it. Like I said earlier, some men who abuse their wife did not just want to be wife beater, but they also have been abused growing up. So when you see siblings abusing each other, for a guy who at home the dad doesn't beat the mom, you may find it difficult to beat a girl, even in school. I know men who would rather not, will just walk away than to lay their hands. Even though you have women who are saying, you call yourself a man. You see everybody that wears trousers that is a man. They push them to it. And even after doing it, maybe a hit, a slap, such men feel so bad with themselves. So among siblings, among parents, sometimes parents are the causes of the rift among siblings. When a parent starts showing that a child is a favorable child, and you make it so obvious, you're causing war in that family. And that war may not even start when you are there. Maybe after those parents has left, you now discover that these kids, they want to kill themselves. They are chasing themselves with assassin because of what?
Can they really keep it to themselves and try not to show it? Because sometimes you see parents that want to compare, say, look at your sister. Your sister is doing well. Now they think they are doing that so that the younger one can do better. How would you address that?
That's a major error parents are making. It is very wrong for parents to compare kids because the personality of those children are not the same. You are comparing a melancholy with a sanguine, or you are comparing a sanguine with a phlegmatic. They are not the same. Or maybe you have two kids, one is slower, one is proactive, and you are saying, can't you be like your brother? He's very smart. He might be the slower version, but he will also get to the goalpost. So don't compare them. Even among parents, they have favorites, but don't show it. Keep it. And then you must be able to manage it. You know, like parenting is one job nobody practice. You don't learn it before you become a parent. Most parents became parent on the job. So if there is a school where they learn how to parent, you know how to manage kids. There are kids that when you shout, hey, they shiver. There are some after shouting, you use cane, they are waiting and saying, what next?
Exactly.
So parents should not show it. You will always have one that says yes to you always. You always have one that will obey you before the other, but don't show it to them. still see everybody equally.
All right. We've been talking about domestic violence, ways we can address it, how it can be curbed, and of course, I've been speaking to Abiola Ugbo, a professional marriage counselor. She has also written books on how to choose right. Yes, choosing the right person to marry. Yes, of course, you'll be able to find find details of that on our website. Hopefully, before the end of the program, she'll get to tell us website address. Now, as we move on, let's look at some other issues relating to domestic violence. Remember, you can be a part of this conversation. You can send your messages to the numbers showing on your screen, and of course, we get to read them out and address them properly. Now, emotional intelligence is something people have been talking about here and there, teachings and all of that. What role does it play in relationships, especially domestic relationships, to avoid violence?
You must be able to know how to relate with others. That's emotional intelligence. How to stay with others and relate well. And like I used to say, it starts from childhood. Like in parenting, I tell parents, bring up a child in an atmosphere of love. A child who grows in a home where there is love among father, mother, children, such a person is going to grow to be an adult that loves people and will be able to accommodate others. Such a child will have a high level of tolerance. But what you see these days is a lot of people are aggressive, a lot of people are not loving, a lot of people are not easy to stay with others once you are not on their side because they are not used to it growing up. And like I told you, what forms our personalities are the things we imbibe from family, the society, the environment where we grow up, the circle we find ourselves, and our belief systems. So emotional intelligence is key. If everyone learns to accommodate one another, tend to show more love, tolerate others, and give people opportunity to be wrong, you know, and know that nobody is perfect. This person will offend me. Like what you say, this person I know is human. We can offend each other. I think it will reduce that. But sometimes when people can't cope with others, if I get to a point that you start feeling others are the reason for your failure, and then you bleed on those who have not hurt you. So you see a lot of bleeding these days. People are bleeding on people who never hurt them.
Let's look at external factors outside the marriage or outside the home.
Okay.
Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about what is happening. You know, sometimes you see some fathers, they come back home frustrated. And what comes to their mind? Okay, things are bad and all of that. So the next thing is, okay, the woman is asking for money, so to speak, and the flare off. How would you address that? Is that in any way contributing to domestic violence?
Poverty is not the reason for domestic violence, but downturn in economy, like the pandemic we experienced, can increase the risk. I remember we had more cases of divorce during the pandemic because a man who always leave home 5 a.m. to go to work and probably come back around 10 when the kids are sleeping or the wife is about to go to bed, suddenly finds himself at home for months, and they tend to see each other. And so there are things he has been avoiding or things that he's not physically around to see that he could ignore. He's seeing it happening and he can't ignore them. And there's a lot of anger. A lot happened. So that situation, or the man who came back from work, maybe he submitted a proposal that was not approved, and hopes are high, and he came home, and then maybe the son, daddy, you're welcome. Daddy, they said we should bring 10,000. You get that from me and go and meet your mother. You know what? The man is happy. So it's cold.
Would you say emotional intelligence can help in that regard, and also understanding when the man is, you know, the mood is good? So the mood is good,
but he's just coming from work. The wife is yet to know what happened in the office. So, but if coming in, he's able to manage his emotions, not transferring the anger on the family. He's coming from outside. The people at home doesn't know what has happened outside. He's in the position to call the wife, this is what had happened. Even if you're going through such, the kids shouldn't be in the picture at that instance. So, if he's able to manage his emotions well, it will reduce it. Tell the wife, this is what happened if they are close. Like I said before we started, most people in marriage are there because of kids. They are not friends. They are not close. Because if they are close, there are level of communication, there are things they will discuss about. And then you will understand that this is not the right time to demand for money because this guy is not happy.
All right. Thank you so much. We've been talking about all of these issues about domestic violence, a lot of factors that can bring about domestic and sexual violence. We need to go on this break. In this break, we get to talk about what is happening in the world of sport with special focus on Enyimba FC. Please stay with us.
The Enyimba FC players, popularly referred to as the Elephants or Abia Warriors, are the pride and joy of Imo State, Nigeria, and the entire country. The club was founded as a state-owned club in November 1976 by Jerry Amadi Onyazu, who was the first director for sports in the newly established Imo State, a province in southeast Nigeria. In August 1991, Imo State was divided further, and Abia State was created from the part of Imo, which included the city of Aba, Enyimba's hometown. So the new state government took over as owners of Enyimba. Coach Godwin Uwa led Enyimba to its first league title in 2001 and followed up with a charity cup also called Super Cup in the same year. The wins marked the beginning of the club's dominance of Nigeria's club competitions. Enyimba registered its presence in the CAF competitions with participation in the CAF Championships League in 2002 but got knocked out in the second round by Mimosas of Ivory Coast. Enyimba ranks among the top clubs from where a good pool of Super Eagles players have been drawn, especially from the squad of 2003, which included goalkeeper Vincent Enyima and defender Obi Nwaneri and Onyekachi Okonkwo. In Africa, Enyimba Football Club ranks 37th in the continental ranking, while in the world rank, Enyimba Football Club ranks 531st in continental ranking, as updated after matches on 8 May 2022. The Enyimba Club is regarded as one of the richest football clubs in the nation. Enyimba's net worth is estimated to be $100,000. While the club basks in its records, one of the players, Onfor Undo, also boasts of the record of scoring the highest number of goals in a single season, with 23 goals scored in 2014. Udo also emerged the top scorer in CAF Championships League in 2016 with 9 goals.
For me, I don't know the punishment, but for me, domestic violence is not at it at all. No man in his right senses should be involved in domestic violence. And this domestic violence, I know you're channeling it to men. Women are also violating domestically. So nobody, no human should engage in domestic violence, no matter what the provocation is. Separation. The Bible even, the Holy Book even admonishes us to separate for a time. Then when the both of you are back to your normal senses, you can reconcile and live together. My advice to them is, if it has to do with life, separation. I'm not saying divorce, I said separate yourself. You know, sometimes women, that a kind of stress we go through, when we come back home, that stress boils down on us and we want to carry it out on the family. Now, if it leads to laying a hand on your wife or your wife laying a hand on you, separation at that point is very, very key. Separate yourself. When the both of you are back to your senses, you can come back together as husband and wife.
Nobody has any right to subject the other party to domestic violence. You know, sometimes it might really not be this emotional abuse too. We need to look into that too. So I just feel that whether male or female, nobody is you don't have any right to subject. If you are just tired of the other person, you know, you can just come resolve it amicably, and you know, let each individual go their separate way, instead of subjecting the other party to what will be detrimental to their health, emotional well-being, and all of that. Well, I think the most important thing is that no matter how bad it is, the victim should be able to talk. Some want to talk, but it's just that they don't know who to talk to. So I believe that as an individual, we should put ourselves in a place that the other person will be able to, like, oh, if I open up to this person, I want to believe that my secret is safe with that person.
So for domestic violence, I just feel they should probably do community service. But it depends on the gravity anyways. So if it's something that involves a death sentence, I think life imprisonment should be like the punishment for that. But if it's something very, very light, I think community service, they should clean the gutters. First and foremost, they should see a specialist. I keep saying that, you know, we do not, in this part of the world, we don't emphasize enough the importance of therapy. Not only that, I feel someone should raise his hand or a hand to hit you. You shouldn't be in that place anymore. Leave. Like, leave. Yes, we'll battle the trauma later, but just leave. Leave your husband, leave your wife. It's not a do or die affair. It's just you guys are together. He will not use beating to kill you or you kill him. Just leave.
No, they should get people they talk to. At least you don't have to die in isolation. Talk to people, meet somebody that you know you can confide in, that you can talk to. You go to them. Someone that you know that can talk to you, advise you positively, not negatively.
All right, thank you so much for being there. Of course, you just listened to those people on the street who talked about domestic violence, what can be done. What is your opinion about what they just said?
I think I heard one man talked about the Holy Book talking about
separation.
The aspect he is referring to is where the Holy Book talk about when husband and wife want to engage in fasting, they should abstain from sex for a while, and they should come back as quick as possible. Not really referring to domestic violence.
All right, remember you can be a part of this discussion. You can send us a message on the numbers showing on your screen. We're still talking about domestic violence this afternoon, and of course we've talked about a number of things. You can find this on our YouTube page. That's at your_viewpoint. Of course, you'll be able to see other episodes of our program. Now let's really look at some other issues relating to domestic violence and how it can become. The other time we're talking about abusers. Now let's look at relationship between abusers and victims. Most of the time these victims don't want to leave. How would you address that?
There are many reasons for why victims stay back or always come back to the abusers.
Okay.
Number one is when they are confronted with, do you want to leave or stay? They are confused. They are thinking, indecision comes in. Do I stay? Do I leave? What will happen? Let me stay. For instance, a lady whose family said, don't marry a particular guy, and she ended up marrying him, and she's been abused, she'll be thinking, what will my family say? How will people see me?
Yes.
Look at the case of Osinachi.
Okay.
She was going through this. Several people wanted to report. She will kneel down, she will beg them, don't tell, let them know. And I'm beginning to wonder, is it because of her fame in the Christian faith, a music minister? How will it sound when they say she's divorced? Maybe those are the things she's trying to protect. I don't know. But so it gets to a point that even the abusers make it very difficult for the abuse to go. They make them believe you won't survive without me. You can't survive alone. Sometimes they just feel, I think the devil you know is better than the one you don't know, because they believe if I leave, who tell you I won't fall into another abuser's hand? So let me stay here. Also, sometimes survivors feels the abusers make them believe they are the cause for the abuse. So they will now say, okay, since I'm the cause, I think I can stay and correct it.
I've seen the case of a lady who said, well, whenever he beats me, I still fall in love with him again.
Oh yeah, that's it. To the point, said, this is the person I fall in love with.
In fact, some other persons, they say, okay, their mothers tell them, that, look, whenever your man beats you, it's a sign of love. You should appreciate it.
That is a mad love.
Mad love.
I call it mad love.
Now, there are reasons. One of their reasons is that, okay, you know, like...
You are not his child. Mind you, you are his wife.
Remember at the beginning, we were talking about when we say some men say, okay, they've gotten the wife and they see the wife as a property. So they want to treat the woman.
It's a wrong mentality.
That, oh, when I beat you, I am correcting you.
No.
I want you to be better.
Your wife is your wife and not your child. There was a case where a guy had 3 kids. He will beat her and then he will rape her. She had the second, the third child being raped after beating. I personally took them to human rights. Because you can't do this. She's your wife, not your child.
In fact, some other persons even believe that intimacy after beating is quite interesting.
That is another level of mental health. It's trauma.
It's trauma.
There's what we call trauma pleasure. Trauma pleasure is where you are deriving pleasure in pain. You are in pain and you are happy. I know women who says they enjoy sex until their husband beats them. As in beats them blue black. That is when they enjoy sex. Those are cases. It's trauma pleasuring, where you are deriving pleasure in pain. Somebody is shaming you. So somebody is exploiting you.
That is abnormal.
It's abnormal. Normally. It's traumatic. It's traumatic experience that brought them. It's a response to trauma. It's not a normal thing. Husbands shouldn't have seen men bring out belts, koboko, to beat wife. They are not your kids. Even the kids, there are limits to beating, or you be charged for child abuse. Then you tell your wife to kneel down and raise her hands up in front of her kids. All in the name you're correcting her. Let the parents correct her, not you.
But you see some people, they talk about culture. They tell you culture allows the man
that is where,
train the wife.
When I wrote the book, Choosing the Right Person to Marry,
yes,
a lot of people, we advocating, let people, even before you say I do to any guy who wants to date you, go for premarital counseling. Premarital counseling is going to expose you to the culture and the beliefs of the guy. I remember one of my sons in the Lord, the lady he wants to marry told them, say, I'm from Edo, in our place, if you cheat, they will naked you in village square. The lady just broke the relationship. I said, that means she's not guaranteeing you that she will not cheat on you.
Wow.
So in premarital counseling, you are able to know beyond that physical man you're seeing or that girl. You want to know, how do they do in your family? What's the culture in your family? What happens when you are newly married? These are things you should find out before you even agree to go to the altar. Not after marriage. Premarital, you've seen it. A man, when he's angry, will come to your house, break your wristwatch, walk club, throw something at your TV. That is red flag. If he can slap you in courtship, he will beat you silly in marriage. So, but some people, they say, oh, I love him. You, after beating, you give you 100K for shopping. You say, honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, that is not my nature. You know, you are the cause. And then you give her 250,000. She will take the money. Next time, you beat her. And then.
But you know, some ladies love that. You know,
that's why I say it's not normal.
It's abnormal.
Check them. They have traumatic experience they are responding to.
Okay. All right, let's quickly look at how these people can be curbed, abusers. Now, most of the time, you see other agencies that are handling issues like this.
Yes.
What do you think is the best way to stop abusers from doing all of these things?
Sometimes ago, the government decided to raise a group of stakeholders to decide what should be the best punishment for a rapist. And I think some people said, oh, they should castrate them. Some said, oh, 14 years. I think the current one should be about 7 years or so. Sending a rapist to jail does not stop him from being a rapist. A rapist is as much as a victim as the one being raped.
How?
If you go into therapy with such person, you discover that this person also has a wound he's trying to cover up for. An abuser needs help. An abuser does not need to be condemned. Maybe there is something he is also fighting. You know, like I tell you, sometimes people are addicted. Addiction is one of the ways people cover up for trauma. And I tell you that trauma is a wound of the mind. So when you see somebody say, when I'm angry, I smoke. And he becomes a chain smoker. And he doesn't just smoke until something happens. So that addiction is covering for that trauma. So abusers can be helped. Rather than condemning them, sometimes you send an abuser to jail, he gets in there and become worse. Hardened.
All right, let's take some messages we have here. This is from Akinshola Raymond. It says, when it comes to domestic violence, people point hands to men while forgetting that some men have been abused by their wives
of course.
too. Any individual, either man or woman caught in an act of domestic violence should be punished with at least 1 year imprisonment with hard labor. That's a suggestion from that
from him.
I should not be given an option to pay a fine. This is Godwin Ofoke from Ijora says, well, domestic violence is a very traumatic experience. It's not easy to get over unless with the help of God and therapy, and that is part of what you do. I know someone who was a victim. She could hardly sleep at night because of the nightmares she always had. The best thing sometimes could also be to change environment. Do you agree with that? To change your environment.
Is it the abuse?
Yes, the abuse.
To change environment.
Victim, yes.
You know, like we say, after all said and done, if it's not working, please walk away. It's better to be alive than to be married and dead. And then destiny aborted. For a while until that man gets himself back. The abuser too might be someone who needs counseling, who needs therapy. And the lady is saying it. If you're saying it from that angle that he just suddenly became a wild cat, he became a devil, like we advise people, even a month, 2 weeks after your marriage, come for what we call post-marital counseling. Because something must have happened on the reception, the wedding day, that have created a mental wound, and you are keeping it. And if it is not treated, it can linger and become something that is that not how your family is sorted? My family, yes. They serve your people better than my people. So we advise them beside premarital, there's what we call post-marital. Immediately, highest 1 month after wedding, come back and come and check. Are we still on the same page in communication? Do we still reason the same? You know that this marital assessment test couples take to help to know that, okay, on this particular matter, what is your stand? What is my stand? So when couples and even those who are yet to be married take such, you will know if you are still together. You see some viral videos where the man refuses to kiss the bride refuses to kiss the man, and you'll be wondering what happened. Well, you can of course do better in that regard. You can of course find solutions to that. Can we have your website address? My social media handle.
Your social media handle.
Abiola _Obu. That's my Instagram.
Okay.
And on Facebook, Abiola Obu. Right. Abiola Antonia Obu.
All right. You can always find Abiola Obu via that handle. Thank you so much. This is where we get to wrap it up on this edition of Your Viewpoint. Be sure to join us at same time, same station next week by God's grace. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, nice, my pleasure being here.
All right, I've been speaking with a professional marriage counselor. That's Abiola Obu. I am Rotimi Akintunde. Stay safe. God bless you. Bye for now.